Hi, everyone. It is Nina again, and I am here to talk to you about oxidative stress and metabolic chaos, because that is a big problem with us. Let's talk about what stress is first. This is a great picture of what stress is, because stress is a balancing act in our bodies. Something happens and our bodies has to respond to it to try to get it back to that center balance, because our bodies are always reacting to everything that's going on in our environment, whether it is me moving my hands while I talk, whether it is adapting to sudden hot, sudden cold, to the food that we put into our systems, to emotional or mental triggers that we need to address and deal with. Our body's always adapting, and it's either based on our life choices and the things that we're exposed to, especially different toxins. Our body is either teetering towards young, healthier, newer cells, or older, sicker, diseased cells. And we want that balance to be in the middle, but we always want it to be kind of moving towards the newer, younger, healthier cells. So we've always got that balance going on in our bodies. Now, we don't get out of life without stress. That's an important thing to understand, because when we think of stress, we always think of the negative, but stress is just something that our bodies need to react to. And actually, stress really is the reaction in our bodies. So Maxine said, my doctor asked me if I've ever had a stress test. And I said, sure, it's called life, because we don't get out of this life without any stress. Let's face it. And as I said, stress is a normal physiologic process. It causes a secretion of hormones in our bodies to try to get us back to that balance. So when we think of stress and we think of all these stress hormones, we think of them negatively, but really they're designed to bring our bodies back to normal and to help our bodies to adapt and handle whatever the situation is. Unfortunately, in our world, a lot of these stressors might be emotional, they might be traumatic, they might be psychological, or worse yet, that's more prevalent, is they result from toxins. And these toxins act on the cellular level. And so we're always trying to get back to balance. But when that system, that stressor system, that response is always being in the activation phase, we don't get resolution. And as I said, stress, the process of responding to stress is our body's reaction to maintain balance. Good stress and bad stress. Eustress is good stress. Good things cause stress to our bodies also. Having a baby, getting married, getting a job promotion and more money. We have to adapt to those things. And especially women with pregnancy, because our body is adapting to that growing baby, and then our body's adapting to feeding that baby. So, and recovering after childbirth. And disease will result if these cellular imbalances are not corrected. So if that stress response never gets turned off, then disease is going to result as a result of it, because our cells are the building blocks of our bodies. And if our cells are dysfunctional and in a constant state of inflammation, then we are going to not be well ourselves. This is a great little example of oxidative stress. On the left is a normal cell, and then the free radicals are attacking that stressed out cell. And then on the right is the cell with oxidative stress. And that does not look like a healthy cell. That cell's not going to be functioning properly, if it's functioning at all. And then our immune system doesn't function well, because our immune system is made up of a bunch of cells. And if it's not functioning properly, it might not be getting rid of those old and diseased cells that are either dysfunctional or not functional at all. And that causes a problem in our body. This is a great example and a great analogy to think of, if you don't really understand the oxidative stress, is to think of a tomato, or you can think of an apple if you want. And as stress wears on you, you get this diseased cell at the very end. And so it's not going to be functioning properly. When you have this free radical oxidative stress in your body, a lot of negative things are going to happen, because the cells of every organ and every system are not functioning properly. It affects your brain, and it could just start off as brain fog, as cognitive problems, and it could progress to full-blown Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, if you're triggering those genes. And a lot of times toxins in our brain will trigger those genes and will trigger that oxidative stress. Because if you remember back to that bucket analogy with our cells, when that bucket starts to overflow with inflammation as a result of toxins and stressors, then that is a problem. And we're going to have brain issues. We're going to have heart issues, kidney issues. With oxidative stress, you saw how it changed the look of the cells. If those are the building blocks of our body, our skin's going to show that too. So we're going to have premature aging, acne, eczema, all of those things. Our eyes, our lungs, our blood vessels, our immune system will be affected. We can get autoimmune disorders. We can get chronic inflammation. Cancer is a failure of our immune system. Our joints will be affected. And then we get this multi-organ problem where we're more predisposed to heavy metal toxicity, or maybe the heavy metal toxicity is causing the oxidative stress. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's hard to tell in our bodies. Lyme disease, diabetes, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, a lot of negative things start happening in our bodies with oxidative stress. Now, oxidative stress is a major factor in metabolic chaos, and Reed Davis, who is a nutritionist, defined it well by saying it's a state of health existing because of individual metabolic complexities and underestimated influences from the environment, meaning that your metabolism is different than mine. My metabolism is different than it was 5 years ago. And then we underestimate all of these influences of these toxins in our world around us, whether they're toxins that are emotional, physical, chemical. We underestimate those influences. And unfortunately, when metabolic chaos happens and all this oxidative stress moves in and creates metabolic chaos, the correlation between your symptoms and the cause becomes unpredictable. So that's why you really have to focus on all 6 pillars of health: the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and financial pillars of health, because it's critical to address all the issues that can be at hand and involved in your overall health. And trauma is a major factor in all of this, whether it's psychological and emotional trauma or physical trauma. And often psychological and emotional trauma is worse because there's no resolution if you're continually exposed to a certain experience or a certain traumatic situation, unless you start working through that situation and create different pattern responses to it. So hidden stressors create metabolic chaos. It could be hidden stressors in the physical realm. We could be exposed to mold in our environments, and we don't know it. We could be exposed to certain toxins in our food, other things like that. Mental stressors, these problems that weigh upon us. A lot of modern day problems are mental stressors. Emotional problems, where you're not handling certain situations well. Spiritual, where you might be questioning why things are happening, what your relationship to this world is. Social stressors, unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships, and then financial stressors. And we can go on and on about those. But if we're worried about our finances continually, then that is causing a lot of hidden stress in our bodies. And the number one cause is toxins, and it affects all of those pillars of health. So with metabolic chaos, I said hidden stressors can cause hidden problems earlier. And those hidden problems, if you remember the acronym HIDDEN, you'll remember what they are. It causes problems with your hormones, and all of your hormones interact with each other. So when you have problems with your stress hormones, you'll start to have problems with your thyroid hormones, your sex hormones, your hunger hormones, your insulin. All of those different things will be affected. I is for your immune system. Your immune system will start to be affected. And I really didn't cover this in the immune system, but as I said just a little while ago, is that an overactive immune system is our allergies. An underactive immune system is an immune system that lets cancer and other infections take hold in our bodies. And an inappropriately responding immune system is where the immune system is attacking itself, and that creates autoimmune diseases. The first D is for digestion. We'll talk about the gut dysbiosis next, but digestion is important because your gut is your second brain as well as the seat of your immune system. The second D is for detoxification. Our body's systems to detoxify start to break down, and then we don't get rid of those toxins as readily as we did before. E is for energy production. Remember the first video with the cell, our mitochondria start to get damaged, and then we don't have enough energy to carry out the proper functions in our cells. And N is for the nervous system. Our nervous system starts to get affected also. And you can see how all of these tie in with each other. And oxidative stress and resultant metabolic chaos are nothing to laugh at. And so that's why I take a comprehensive approach to my coaching. And I do a group coaching program also that encompasses all of these pillars of health. And so it's really critical to educate yourself, to start making changes, and to get the support and the tools and resources that you need, and to continually evaluate and reevaluate your choices and whether or not they're helping you. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video on the gut.